After some of the most challenging times in our history, post-COVID, and amidst uncertainty and extreme inflationary pressures, seeing you here tonight is the win. It is. It really is. I'm going to break up like 5 times tonight. It is a result of true community, love for each other, and our home, Cochrane. Last year, I spoke about the beginning to come out of COVID and the challenges faced over the last couple of years. And while we have even moved further along the journey of leaving COVID behind, many of us are still feeling those impacts. There's still a level of uncertainty around our health and the health of our loved ones. This uncertainty around how we adapt our businesses and how the business operations, looking to support new models of how we work together, whether that be a flexible work day or a hybrid model or even just Zoom calls, but we're still getting the business done. Like last year, we still face challenges in the areas of staffing and supply chain shortages, inflation, like I mentioned, impacts on mental health and well-being. But with all of this in mind, we cannot lose sight that we can get through these tough times. We rally as colleagues, friends, and family to push forward to make the best of the situations we are handed to support one another. Cochrane is full of resilient and innovative citizens and businesses. So I implore you, let's work together to put the negative aspects of the past in the rear view, not forgetting or pushing away the impacts of the hardships faced, but rather looking forward to recognizing, celebrating, and affecting positive change happening right here in our community. This is who we have been, who we've always been, and the Cochrane that when faced with challenges, takes what we have learned to rise above that challenge. I'm going to move now into, oh, it's working, perfect. It's no shock that Cochrane is growing and evolving. And while this can be daunting, it is also incredibly exciting and invigorating. But we cannot simply let Cochrane grow. Crystal, you mentioned it in your speech. How did we get here? Growth has been happening to us, but we must be deliberate, strategic, and responsive in creating a community we are proud of. A community that our children will one day want to call their home and have the opportunity to do so. The achievements and goals I'm about to share with you are the product of the collaborative spirit of your council. Councillors Susan Flowers, Tara McFadden, Marnie Fedeko, Morgan Nagel, Alex Reed, and Patrick Wilson. Please stand, those 3 that are here tonight. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your commitment and dedication to Cochrane, and I'm so lucky to work with you all. So as you can see, those documents are available. Maybe some of you, I see some of you have them at your table. But please grab a copy and take it home with you, give it a read. Like the video outlined very well, I thought. Thank you to our communication team for that. It's really the guiding document that we've put together to guide our decision making over the next 3 years. So as you can see, we've been busy laying the groundwork to achieve an incredible future for Cochrane. Cochrane remains the fastest growing community in Alberta and the number 11 fastest growing community in all of Canada. We are clearly a community of choice. So this slide, there we go. So here's some stats that really tell the story of the last year. We got the number of home sales in 2022. Yep, it's coming up. 1,141 home sales in 2022 in Cochrane. And that was according to the Calgary Real Estate Board. Number of single-family home starts, 540. Average home price, $561,200. That's a 21.92% increase. 2021, as you see, is, I can't see if you see, 460,300. Number of new businesses that called Cochrane home last year, 81. And total number of active business licenses, 2,113. So I think there's a whole bunch more stats. You can contact our departments for more information on those, but those are a few that kind of outline 2022, just a little snapshot. So now I'm going to focus a little bit on our finances, and I want to speak about our financial position. And in short, I can sum that up, but Cochrane is in good financial health. While we have some debt on our books, it is debt that we have used strategically to borrow in order to get to projects faster without placing massive burden on ratepayers. So we're using our debt strategically. Most of you probably don't realize, but we have a debt limit that's placed upon us by the province. We also have a debt limit that we've placed upon ourselves that is lower than the provincial one, and we are below both of those. So I wished I had a slide, but yeah, thank you. There's a round of applause. So we also have a healthy amount of reserve funds in the bank, mostly earmarked for future projects and various fleet replacements, and the rest at the ready should an opportunity present itself or an unforeseen emergent item be sprung upon us. During this past budget, Council received a report from our Finance Department outlining the state of our reserves. They made it quite clear to us that we need to continue to be deliberate in contributing to our savings to accomplish our goals and to meet your expectations. These reserve funds are not an endless pool of money. Council needs to set clear priorities and live within our means, and I'm happy to report that we are doing just that. It is difficult work to manage a community that is experiencing growth like we are. Added to the inflationary pressures that I've already outlined and our current economy, we have received less provincial funding to support all of this growth. And in recent years, communities have seen funding from the province cut by 25%. So I'm not sure it's really something everybody's made aware of. Like as we're experiencing higher inflation, like we are in our own homes, higher gas prices, higher food prices, we're seeing that as an organization, higher gas prices for our fleets, higher food prices, all of the same inflationary pressures that you are at home. And we really rely on the province to provide funding for our communities all across Alberta to help us with infrastructure projects. And these projects and funds assist us in building critical infrastructure like the Jack Tennant Memorial Bridge that you see here, or the Highway 1A improvement projects that Crystal's looking forward to seeing complete this summer. And beyond the provincial and federal infrastructure funding, these vital projects are also funded through growth. We have adopted a philosophy that growth pays for growth, and I'm not sure that's clear in the community either. We have a real strong principle that if there's a new community coming on, they better be paying for the pressures that they're putting on Cochrane. And it's because of that philosophy that the financial contributions of the development community that we were able to pay for that bridge, $40 million plus for the Jack Tennant Memorial, without using any tax dollars. The last two budget cycles, Council has been investing directly into our organization. This is an example of why. In this case, and I'm talking about the provincial funding cutbacks, we have added an intergovernmental portfolio to our administrative team, assisting us in advocating to the province that we need these funds to be able to build the infrastructure that Albertans expect and Cochranites need. This has been a focus of mine since day one after being elected, putting Cochrane back on the map in the eyes of the provincial government, highlighting our extreme growth and showing how we are an important economic engine in the province of Alberta. And it's working. So this is a picture of the 1A interchange. The picture on the right of your screen is the proposed, the way that the 1A interchange is going to look in a couple of years. Happy to report that it is out for tender. I believe that tender closes on the 16th of February. Drew's given me the nod. The picture on the right, the two pictures are a little bit of a close-up on some of the traffic circles that will be incorporated. The 1A interchange is obviously hugely important to our community. It's a provincial project. It's not a Town of Cochrane project. But I just want to highlight this one as an example of the intergovernmental work that we've been up to. The Gap 1, as we've been calling it, and I'm not sure how many people were aware of this, but when the province came along with the 1A and 22 interchange, it was going to stop past the Cochrane Ranch. Start. You're driving from Calgary down the hill, coming through Cochrane. You'll go past the Cochrane Ranch and then the Big Hill Creek. That's where the 1A and 22 interchange was going to start. The intergovernmental advocacy efforts that we have done over the past couple of years, we talked to the province about adding what we called Gap 1, from the totem building in Cochrane to the Big Hill Creek. And that might sound like a small stretch, but with our project where we are twinning the highway all the way from the bottom of the hill to the Big Hill Creek, those 4 lanes we're going to funnel back down to 2 lanes and then funnel back up to 4 lanes at the 1A project. That makes no sense. I understand how that sounds, but that's what the plan was. We advocated to the province. We needed this gap filled. They, with that effort, the province stepped up. That was around a $10 million upgrade. That is in the project. The $10 million is probably 13 now with inflation, but it's also going to be included, like I say, but there's a retaining wall required on both sides. There's a spring in the ground there. It was not a small undertaking, and we pushed that to the province, and they've accepted it. Gap 2 is on the top of that picture on the left. That was that the project was going to stop right after the entrance to the ranch house here. We worked with the province to say, we need you to fill Gap 2 now and build this project to Sunset Boulevard. And they have taken on that challenge as well. We have had to work with the developer in Sunset. They are contributing. We are contributing as a community, but the province is paying the biggest portion, and that's around another $10 million to see that intersection rebuilt at Sunset Boulevard and allowing 2 lanes to come out of Sunset onto 22 Highway. So another big key win for our team. So those 2 things don't happen just by sitting back and doing nothing. We would have had an interchange that would have come, and we would have had unhappy motorists, me being one of them, trying to get through there as it funneled down from 4 to 2 back to 4, and then we turn and we come up to Sunset. We can't get in or out of there. So my hat's off to our team. That was, well, what year are we in here? 5 now as I've been mayor and this council. All 5 of those years we've been pounding on the door of the Minister of Transportation, and while the door remains the same, the person behind the door has changed, I think, 5 times in those 5 years. So that is a lot of work, and this isn't even our project. So it's important that we have the personnel on our team, in our organization, that are professionals that help us deliver on these projects. So what I'm trying to get at, other than the investment in our organization, but is also that relationships are key in this area. And to see success, I'm grateful for the ones we're building. And I was really hoping Peter Guthrie would be here. Like, come on, look at this. This is Peter and I in the legislature building. And I just wanted to say, and we're videoing this so he can watch it after. Peter Guthrie, I'm looking right into the camera. Thank you for all you're doing for Cochrane. We are an ongoing concern in the legislature building, and we are not done. And a little bit more on the relationship piece, and then I'll move on. There's that door. The first time I was there, I had to take a picture of it, but now it's coming handy. We are increasing our interactions and making an impression at the provincial level, and here's an example of a few. And this is just recently. Minister Dreeshen, who is the new Minister of Transportation, and Minister Guthrie, who is the Minister of Energy now, visited Cochrane to announce the 1A22 interchange project late last year. Ministers Guthrie and Minister Schultz, who's the Minister of Municipal Affairs, attended the Garmin announcement earlier this week. Ministers Guthrie and Nixon, and Minister Nixon is the Minister of Seniors Housing. They visited Cochrane earlier this month to tour the Big Hill Lodge and the Bethany Care Center facilities. More on that in a minute. Minister Copping, Minister of Health, will be attending a February Mid-Sized City Mayors Caucus meeting, I think next Wednesday, to address concerns relating to EMS and doctor shortages in Cochrane. And you've heard me just now speak about the Mid-Sized City Mayors Caucus. I've invested significant energies into this entity. It's a group of 24 mayors of communities our size, joining our voices together to compel the provincial decision makers. During our recent trip to the capital, we have an executive team. I chair this group. There was 5 of us, the mayors of Airdrie, the mayor of Spruce Grove, the mayor of Leduc, the mayor of Cochrane, and the mayor of Grand Prairie. Thank you. I was going to get there on my own. We are the executive team of these 24 communities that represent 1 million Albertans, including yourselves, and we are getting provincial attention finally. So we made a trip to the capital, and we met with 11 chiefs of staff of all of the departments to share our message that communities our size need a fair funding deal. And I remain hopeful that our message was received, and we will see the fruits of those labors in the form of restored funding levels, so back from the 25%. And I'm working hard with these other mayors to secure a mid-sized city funding allotment and recognition by the province to those of us who are experiencing extreme growth, essentially securing long-term sustainable funding. What will that mean for Cochrane? Well, it equates to about $3 to $5 million every single year of funding from the province to go back into those infrastructure projects that I talked about. So, enough about that. Together as a council, we have approved a number of infrastructure projects that will make your life better while also creating well-paying jobs here in Cochrane. And I'm just going to list a couple of them here. And this one is a picture of the Big Hill Lodge. That's Sandra. She is so awesome. She works there. And with seniors housing, we have approved 2 capital projects in this year's budget on the 5th Avenue site, as well as officially committed lands to remove any barriers to help facilitate the replacement of the Big Hill Lodge. It's a provincial building. It's on provincial land. It's operated by the Rockaview Foundation, and we have Councillor Susan Flowers chairing that foundation, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that that building gets replaced in Cochrane as soon as possible. We recognize the importance and the emergent need, and we're doing all that we can. And Susan, thank you for your efforts on that. Highway 1A, improvements project. Shouldn't be any secret to anyone here. Improving traffic flow for residents and at the same time making it easier for your employees and customers to get to your businesses. This will be complete this year. Brand new RCMP detachment, on time and on budget. This $23 million investment sees the modernization of our police and municipal enforcement building, making Cochrane a desirable place to be a police officer, and in turn keeping Cochrane a safe place to live and work. So excited to see that rising up out of the Heartland area. It's looking like it might be done in June, Stacey. Thumbs up, nods from the back. Thank you for your work on that, Ms. Lowe. The station opened earlier, well, I guess it was last year now. This station, right on the tracks, right in the core of downtown, is clearing barriers to access community business. You can pay taxes there. Feel free to pay taxes there. Make an inquiry or meet virtually with a Cochrane employee. So there's a little room there where you can book a meeting and virtually meet with a town official. Our economic development people are working daily from here to provide services to enhance your business. We have also left space on the site for a future rail platform, so when, not if, Peter, the Calgary Airport to Banff Rail project is completed and we will see a stop in Cochrane. Yeah. So here's a cool picture. This is a picture of Velocity in Waterloo, and it's an example of an incubator. And as part of the programming at the station, we've included an incubator space to grow our own local economy by creating an environment for startup businesses. We had a report to council, I believe it was it this week? On Monday, about the programming, and that will be coming soon. So, Garmin. Back to the startup. So, I'm not sure how many people realize that Garmin, there we are, started as a startup in a garage in Cochrane as Dynastream Innovations. Mr. Jim Rooney's here tonight. Thank you, Jim, for joining us from Garmin. Yeah. So our intention with the incubator is to facilitate a business environment for startups, just like what Jim did back with Dynastream in the early days. So they don't have to happen in a garage or in mom's basement, but actually in our incubator, in a fostered ecosystem where ideas can grow and investors can be attracted intentionally and professionally. More to come on that in the near future, like I said. So speaking of Garmin, I'm just going to keep it on that slide for a bit. You may be aware of an announcement earlier this week where Garmin Canada officially announced their expansion plans right here in Cochrane. Yeah. Yeah. So this will see a third floor added to Garmin's building in the quarry making room for an additional 200 STEM jobs. And I've been dropping the word STEM like I knew what it meant all this time. Science, technology, engineering, and math. Everyone else knew what it was. I was the only one. Monday's announcement is a direct outcome from hard work and a sustained effort over a long period of time with people aligned in a purpose and pulling in the same direction. And that didn't happen by accident. We've been talking about tech for some time, looking to strategically plan for growth and focused on the tech sector here in Cochrane, fostering a tech-based economy in an environment where businesses are welcomed and can thrive. Garmin is an international entity that could have chosen anywhere in the world to expand their operations, but no, they chose Cochrane. They have multiple offices all over the world that they could have gone to, but they chose Cochrane. Those offices are actively competing in the world market to attract talent, and I'm told that that is a seriously hard market to try and woo people from organizations like Google, Apple, Microsoft, and that talent is choosing Cochrane. And Garmin was looking at all of the options, and I'm talking about the head office, and they're located in Olathe, I think I'm saying that right, Kansas. And I want to stop here and talk about a little bit of a story. And everybody sees a Garmin announcement and that this, oh, good, great, Garmin's expanding in Cochrane, and it is great. But I want to talk about the year plus of efforts behind the scenes where we couldn't say anything about this and worked our asses off together with Garmin to ensure that the head office made those expansion plans in Cochrane. So Jim came to me well over a year ago asking for help. He had heard us talking tech and now wanted to know if we were serious. So, as I said, we, pardon my French earlier, we started working together in hopes of convincing the head office that Cochrane should remain their home. Cochrane and Garmin uniquely share a vision, we found out, and we share a lot of the same values and principles as organizations. We're both striving to create a community, or in Garmin's case, a work environment that supports an active outdoor lifestyle. And as part of our collaboration, Garmin continued to encourage Cochrane to continue to build upon our amazing pathway network offering multimodal transportation options for residents and employees, and in turn, Garmin testers. Garmin has been clear with us on what it is that existing and future employees at Garmin want in a community. And it just so happens we want the same things. Boop. Trails. But talk is cheap, so let me give you a real example. It is my pleasure to share with you today that as part of our work, and this is other work, ongoing work, we have been awarded a significant grant to improve our trail systems from right here in the Cochrane Ranch all the way to the Bow River. We'll see replacing of bridges, paving of the surfaces, allowing year-round, maintained, accessible trails for all of Cochrane to enjoy, at the same time achieving a strategic priority of our council, connecting communities. I don't know how many people I've heard from over the last 5 years saying, I step in this puddle, I tripped on that bridge. This will see this all cleaned up and paved and look just like that. Another example of the trail system improvements is in the works, and we're working alongside the Rotary Club of Cochrane to connect Cochrane to Calgary through the Glenbow Ranch by trail. So this is a shot from Precedence looking east down the valley towards Calgary and looking at the lands, the western lands of the Glenbow Park, Glenbow Ranch. This project looks to connect through that park all the way to Cochrane and be a segment of the Great Trail Project, which is looking to connect our nation from one end to the other with a continuous path system. Pretty awesome project that is growing in, it's a growing concern. We've got a committee, some of them are here tonight. Thank you for all the work that you're doing on behalf of the Cochrane region to connect us on these trails. And so back to the Garmin story. Click, click. Well, the immediate impact on the recent Garmin, Jim's looking at me like, what are you going to say here? Well, the immediate impact will be the third floor and 200 more STEM jobs at Garmin. I am most excited about our shared future together. This collaboration sees Cochrane committing long-term to Garmin Canada in the form of providing key infrastructure improvements in this area. This paves the way for future Garmin expansion, and like expansion past the expansion we've announced this week, and all sorts of opportunities to further partner together to continue to work to transform that entire area along railway. Imagine, if you will, a few years from now, 2 or 3 more tech buildings in that area. Perhaps a new library space, additional parking, maybe even a parking structure. And I don't want to get into too many details. We're not announcing any of that tonight, but our future is bright in those areas, and this announcement is paving the way for that. Oops, I went too far. There we go. I recently traveled to Las Vegas for a tech convention. This is the outside of the Las Vegas Convention Center, the new one. I caught up with a couple of Cochrane businesses, obviously Garmin as well, and continue to research the startup environment. But mainly it was to solidify in the minds of our tech community that Cochrane is serious about tech and attracting more tech and more expansion in Cochrane. And this is a little bit more tongue-in-cheek here. To be transparent, this trip cost $4,579.77. I know this specific amount as my travel expenses have been the subject of a recent FOIP request. And I am not saying that, well, maybe it was an economy flight, no first class here. Paid for accommodation, paid for some food, the mileage that we incurred, and conference registration for this. And I say that maybe with a smile on my face, but it's serious. We get FOIP requests on a regular basis here. FOIP is freedom of information and protection. It exists for a good reason. I believe FOIPs are important for us to be transparent. There's also, I'm not sure everybody realizes, but we get these requests a lot on things like this for $4,579.77, which would be on the web page anyways, and it's costing us all money to do these types of searches. So why did I go then? It wasn't to just make fun of this. It was what it means for Cochrane. It means more local job opportunities, opportunities for the next generation to live and work in Cochrane, an opportunity to expand our municipal amenities, lowering the costs and shortening the timeline to deliver upon them. And lastly, and most importantly probably, investing millions of dollars of key non-residential assessment to help offset the tax burden on Cochrane residents. Truly a pivotal time in our history. So those new STEM jobs I've talked about, science, technology, engineering, and math, those jobs equate to people and families just like yours, just like mine. Where are we going to put them? A few years back, Council produced a vision document with a few solid pillars. One of those was to drive more density to the core of Cochrane. This graphic is taken from that document. I believe this was it was a pretty masterful piece that really, in 4 easy pillars, outlined what it is that we love about Cochrane and what we want to do with Cochrane. One of those pillars, like I'm saying, is driving density. So this map is showing a heat map where we're trying to drive more density to the core. That utilizes existing infrastructure like pipes and roads, and at the same time does not sprawl out into the countryside. An example of this is Greystone. Everybody knows Greystone was the former Burnco gravel pit down by the rec center. Greystone is now well underway and will include amenities such as a grocery store, a hotel, all while creating a residential component we are currently missing. Housing that will allow more opportunities for employees, seniors, and our kids to also call Cochrane their home. Another exciting announcement that came last week was the purchase of the South Bow lands by Qualico. South Bow Landing was approved over 10 years ago, I think over 3 council terms ago. To see this area finally kick off is great for Cochrane. I've spoken about leveraging our desirability in the past and raising the bar with our development industry. But what does this really mean when it comes to South Bow Landing, for example? So what will South Bow bring to our community? Well, for example, completion of James Walker Trail, an important piece in our road network, taking the traffic off of River Heights Drive, which we've heard from a lot of residents along there, and placing it where it was planned all along on a designed collector roadway, James Walker Trail. South Bow also means increased amenities to on the south side of the river, including neighborhood commercial, bringing more non-residential tax base, but also providing a local, convenient option for Fireside, River Song, River Heights, and Riviera residents, while at the same time taking the pressure off of congestion and traffic in the middle of our town. It is time for us to begin creating these commercial nodes outside of our downtown. Any earlier, I think the way I wrote this is a little confusing, so I'm going to ad lib here. What I mean by commercial nodes, putting these grocery stores, commercial entities outside of the downtown core, taking traffic, like I said, out of the core of Cochrane. Doing that earlier on in our genesis, we would have risked what many other communities faced, and that's killing your downtown, the historic core elements that made them a community in the first place. In our case, our historic downtown is vibrant, active, and cherished. And we are focusing on keeping it that way, while at the same time balancing the needs of a growing community. Another element you saw in the video of our strategic plan, right there, protecting our downtown historic core. So again, I'm going to shock you that Cochrane is growing. Many of the initiatives and the projects I've mentioned tonight all involve some form of growth. Yes, the secret's out, Crystal, that 10 years, Cochrane is growing. People have found out how great Cochrane is. And I say that with a smile, but I'm quite serious about our growth, and so is Council. We as a Council grapple with growth and the pressures it brings almost every day. And as you've heard me say this before, we, for the most part, have good problems. Growth is a good problem, trust me. I talk to many other communities around Alberta that are struggling to attract business, that are struggling to attract employees, customers, and residents to their community. We don't have that problem. We have other problems that comes with growth, but what I'm trying to say here is that a community that is not growing is dying, just like your business. If your business is not growing, it's dying. I said that last year. I think I'm going to say it next year too. But we understand that the concerns that you have as a community with that growth, and we are working to alleviate them by investing in Cochrane, an investment that is supported through our growth. And while we are planning for our future, we are doing so with that principle at the forefront. Growth must pay for growth. We want to preserve the elements that we love about Cochrane, and I love these slides, thanks to the comms team again. A community where you know your neighbors, raising the bar on development. So the question isn't if we grow, it's how we grow. I've been calling it leveraging our desirability. I'm going to repeat that every single year as I'm mayor. It's obvious to people that people and businesses want to be here. Our work now is focused on creating the Cochrane we want to have, raising the bar with the development industry to develop new neighborhoods and commercial areas that enhance the livability of our community, adding amenities for the people who live here today, increasing our quality of life. This is bringing change, and let me tell you, driving positive change takes place over time with a concerted effort. In fact, it's manual labor. We are up to the task, but we can't do this alone. We need your help. This is my plea. When you hear people say we need to stop growing, I hope you will stop and ask them this. Where will your children live one day when they look for a home? Where will your retiring parents move if they want to be close to you or their grandchildren? My goal, Council's goal, is that we stop measuring Cochrane in terms of population and instead speak in terms of how our community feels to live in it. Because as much as this is about Cochrane of today, it is also an opportunity to talk about the Cochrane we can become. Throughout the last year, we've been working to carry out the bold vision laid out in that strategic plan we talked about. We've committed to preserving our unique identity, protecting, nurture, and enjoying our natural landscape, creating a vibrant and active community connected with connected neighborhoods, creating an atmosphere where the modern economy can thrive, bringing people together physically and socially, just like tonight. We commit to continue to focus on these core values as council and administration, and we've set our priorities to engage with the community. Engagement with community is a key focus of ours. We aim to be intentional, educational, and transparent as we move forward in engaging with the Cochrane community members and businesses, and you can expect to see more of this in the year to come as we strive to connect with each of you. And I think I'm going to pause here because I think we need to be a little easier on ourselves as we put pressure to connect with one another. It wasn't that long ago when we weren't allowed to, and we were forced to be in different areas of our lives and dealing with different difficulties that didn't allow us to engage and be in the same buildings with one another. I'm so happy that we are like tonight, but we as an organization are committing to getting out and getting back there and getting in people's faces, in their businesses, and in your homes maybe if you let us, to start sharing what we're up to and hearing from you what we can improve upon. And when you start to put all of these exciting initiatives together, you can see that Cochrane's future is super bright. And all this talk about community we want to become, but I think it's important to highlight that we are already a remarkable community full of exceptional human beings. And I might break up at this point too, but I had the measure of meeting the Patels last week. They are the owners of Wayback Burger. Narav is here tonight. Narav, thank you. Narav sat with me for lunch and shared his story of why he and his wife chose Cochrane. Not only are they first-time business owners, but they moved to Cochrane and are first-time homeowners. And while in the process of opening Wayback, they were spending long hours at the restaurant preparing for opening day. It was snowing a lot at that time, and Narav came home to find that his neighbor, not next door, but 4 doors down, had recognized that they were busy at work, trying to open their new business, and shoveled their sidewalks for them, right to the front door. Not just on the street, right to the door. And not just once, many times. He shared that story with me with complete amazement and graciousness. And you see, those small acts of kindness go a long way. Narab's still smiling about it. It was so awesome to hear that. And that is the Cochrane that I know and love. I asked for your help a little earlier around growth. And before turning it over for questions, I'm going to ask for your help again. And I added this late this afternoon. We need your help. We need to hear from you. I'm not even going to read it anymore. We hear a lot of negativity. We walked through the gauntlet together tonight. As I talked about earlier, that type of behavior is increasing in our community. And I'm not saying that freedom of speech isn't a thing. Absolutely it is. We live in an awesome community and an awesome country. But we as council and administration hear a lot of negativity. It's the loudest. We need to hear from you. We need to hear from all of you. We need you to be engaged because the change that we're trying to elicit in our community, this change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones. We are the change that we seek. Thank you. At this time, I'd be happy to take your questions.